Yo, what's up guys, it's EG. Today I'll be explaining 10 different manipulation methods in 10 minutes. Let's begin. 1. Gaslighting, a method where the manipulator tries to make another person doubt their reality, memory, or perceptions. By continually denying or twisting events and facts, the manipulator induces cognitive dissonance in the victim. Over time, the victim begins to distrust their memory and perception. It's aimed at gaining more power by making the victim dependent on the manipulator for defining reality. To never be caught by this. Maintain a clear record of events, trust your instincts, and seek external perspectives. 2. Love bombing. This is when the manipulator overwhelms the victim with affection, praise, gifts, and attention. By setting a precedent of affection and attention, the manipulator creates an emotional debt. Later, when they pull away or become abusive, the victim craves the initial positive attention. The purpose of this is to make the victim emotionally dependent. To never be caught by this, be wary of overly intensive affection early in relationships. Pace and balance are keys to genuine connections. 3. Foot in the door technique, a method starting with a small request followed by a bigger one. Agreeing to the smaller request makes the victim feel consistent in their actions and thus more likely to agree to a subsequent, larger request. To never be caught by this, be discerning with requests and recognize this sequential pattern. 4. Door in the face technique. An initial large request is made knowing it will be refused, followed by a much smaller request. The smaller request seems much more reasonable in comparison to the outrageous initial request. This is to secure compliance by making the actual request seem small. To never be caught by this, evaluate every request on its own merit, without relative comparisons. 5. Triangulation. This is when introducing another person into the dynamic to create tension. By comparing the victim to another person, the manipulator creates jealousy, insecurity, and doubt. This is to destabilize and control the victim by making them feel they need to compete for the manipulator's attention or approval. To never be caught by this, recognize your value and avoid falling into comparison traps. 6. Preying on insecurities, exploiting personal insecurities or vulnerabilities. By magnifying perceived flaws, the manipulator diminishes the victim's self-worth. This is to make the victim feel lucky to be with the manipulator and less likely to leave or challenge them. To never be caught by this, foster self-worth, embrace self-compassion, and surround oneself with positive reinforcements. 7. Silent treatment is refusing to communicate as a form of punishment. Humans are wired for connection. When deprived, they often feel anxious, unworthy, and will seek to reconcile. This is to control and induce submission. To never be caught by this, recognize it as a control tactic. Prioritize self-care during such periods and establish communication boundaries. 8. Shifting blame, deflection, avoiding responsibility by deflecting blame. When faced with criticism or responsibility, the manipulator redirects the focus, often making the victim feel at fault. This is to avoid consequences and maintain a power position. To never be caught by this, stick to the facts, avoid being sidetracked, and address the original issue. 9. Fear, obligation, guilt, fog. This is utilizing fear, creating a sense of obligation, and inducing guilt. The victim is made to feel they owe the manipulator, often out of fear of consequences or emotional blackmail. This is to secure compliance and control. To never be caught by this, recognize emotional blackmail patterns and set clear boundaries. 10. Intermittent reinforcement is unpredictably alternating between positive and negative behaviors. The unpredictability creates an addiction-like response, with the victim constantly seeking validation. To keep the victim hooked and constantly seeking the manipulator's approval. To never be caught by these, recognize patterns, maintain self-worth, and consider seeking therapy or counseling. Recognizing and understanding these manipulation tactics is vital in personal relationships, workplaces, and societal contexts. Building awareness and setting firm boundaries can help individuals navigate and resist these methods.